So in this area, we're working continually, adding plants, taking plants out, harvesting the organic material. And here we have the sea berry again. This is the highly antioxidant citrus sort of berry that once it freezes tastes very sweet in Comfrey. So we have a nitrogen fixer next to the nutrient dynamic accumulator, and we have all these spaces in between. Spaces that will be ready for when we want to plant something. So we're building soil. Here we have a cup plant on the end. Again, beneficial habitat. So this whole row here is just being primed for when we decide to have some high value crop put in. And at any time we can pull out the Comfrey, plant alongside of it, and all they do is facilitate the growth of the other plants. So we have nannyberry, serviceberry, high bush cranberry along this row. They should fill in really well once they get more mature. We'll keep trimming them up. All of these are serving a purpose. Coming down this hill, they're actually a sound break and a visual break for us when they get taller from the freeway for our house. So they're kind of serving many human uses here in this case. You can see the daffodils coming up here too. And lots of flowers. The Comfrey is starting to flower. Bumblebees appreciate that. All sorts of nectar-eating plants. You can see how quickly they grow. These were hardly even out of the ground a couple weeks ago. They grow very fast because they've got a root system that's now quite advanced. And then you can see all the mulch that they make just from being cut down last year. So they really do cover the soil well. I hope you can hear me through the freeway traffic here. This is a swale and berm system put on contour on a hill to collect water. So the swale is basically a ditch on contour that collects the water, and then the soil that's excavated is put downhill in a berm. The water for this swale comes from the driveway. There's a little bump in the driveway there, forcing the water off the driveway down through the grass and into this swale here. You can kind of see where it's got a lot of silt in it from the gravel from when we had these heavy rains. But looking at the plants, high bush cranberry, Comfrey of course, seaberry, Comfrey, or not seaberry, serviceberry. And there's kind of interesting dynamic going on here. So here we have this really big Comfrey. See this area out here gets lots of sun, has very good soil, deep topsoil since it was buried up here, dug out from the swale. Gets lots of water, and when the plants get their roots in here, they got a lot coming. Look what we have going on under here. We have this Comfrey has a mechanism to facilitate this little Korean nut pine. And the Korean nut pines are really hard to grow. Got about a 90% or more mortality rate if you buy them to try and get them in. Get this little pine tree going. In about 8 or 9 years it'll start having pine nuts, and then once it's about 50-60 feet tall in about 30 years you'll have tons and tons of pine nuts coming off this little pine tree. So had some problem with it before, just surviving, and so a little bit of dappled shade from the Comfrey, a lot of great services from the Comfrey root, and also you see what's down here is mulch from the Comfrey, and that really makes a solid mat. Once you pull this off, take the machete once this is grown out, cut it down, throw it on the ground. Now you have mulch to keep the weeds down, plus all the nutrients and minerals go down in the ground, and all that is for this little tiny tree. And we keep it fenced in really nice to keep the rabbits off it and whatever else might eat it. And you can see there's already some You can see that there's some new growth coming in here this year. So this is Comfrey, is a nurse plant to this pine tree, and someday this pine tree hopefully will be 60 feet tall, and this Comfrey will be somewhere else. It's already going to spread. It's already dropping its seeds. Very prolific plant. So here we have a mechanism of facilitation for the pine nut. We also have the beneficial habitat. We have the ecological functions for the soil, building the soil, bringing up minerals, nutrients. Insects will overwinter in the roots underground. Actually, we have found some of these roots, when you cut an old one and they're hollow, they'll go down about 2 feet into the ground, have about a 3-inch hole all the way down, and be filled with all sorts of insects. So, mechanism of facilitation and ecological functions. And then the human use is this little pine nut tree someday will be feeding us lots of pine nuts at $20 a pound. Not a bad